And it was 20% of people had no idea what was going on. I think 30% said that they didn't care who sold them. And then 50% actually said that they would stop drinking that brand, which was surprising to me.
Wow.
But I mean, that's the internet. I think I was in a local beer group that will remain nameless when I saw that poll. But so we'll see. Me personally, more power to them.
Right. I mean, ultimately, like you said, you're looking for revenue, greater share of the market. And if you have this great product, I mean, at some point you would hope that the people are genuine enough that we really just want to share our great beer, our great product with the people. So the only way to get it there is to make the move that they've made. So, and I forget, I was looking at something the other day, and man, this older mind of mine. Anyway, we're at about 30 minutes into this thing. Let's get to this aging versus cellaring, which is one of the items that you mentioned to me, man. I'm going to kind of follow your lead on this one, but we thought, we like to try to keep in the hops facet of Hoops and Hops. So we try to open up with some different discussions on what's going on in the beer world. And while we have a couple of special guests kind of lined up to come and join us, today we want to get into the topic of aging versus cellaring.
Right, and not necessarily versus as much as the idea of it overall. Like, should you age? Should you cellar? If you're going to age, ideally you probably want a cellar, which basically is anything that has a consistent temperature. You do not want your beers to fluctuate. So you either want them to be in a fridge and be really cold, or you want them to be in a dark, relatively cold room. Just because the fermentation process is going to continue. The colder it is, the slower it will be, the more gradual it will be. I guess I wanted to bring it up because there was an article that was put out about 6, maybe 7 days ago that kind of confirmed a lot of things that I personally and some of my friends had been saying for a long time. There are beers that should be or can be aged, that can be cellared and will get considerably better with time. Your stouts, your porters, your high alcohol beers, those are meant to age like wine. The harshness, the bitter flavors, those start to mellow out, and some of your mid notes start to come up to the front of those beverages. But we got people out here that are aging stuff that has no business being aged. You are not supposed to sit on your hop slam for 6 months. It is brewed to be consumed within 2 months. There are dates on those bottles and cans for a reason. So, as a point of reference for some people who are big names in the beer industry, so everybody knows who Stone Brewing is, and
another West Coast company, right?
Right, West Coast company who basically, as far as we Americans are concerned, makes the perfect IPA. They made what is now considered a West Coast style of an IPA, which is basically an over-hopped or a much more highly hopped IPA style with a bit of a higher ABV. And I just lost this guy's name. Bill Sisak is their brewing and marketing manager. And he basically came out and said that their beers, some of their IPAs, are meant to be aged.
Okay.
But they are by no means the standard. So if you go out and you get just regular Stone IPA, that's meant to be drank right now. But if you go and get Stone Ruination,
one of my favorites,
or Stone Ruin 10, those are high enough alcohol to be aged. Those come in at above 8% alcohol, and they will not fall off over time. Counter to that, though, the Dogfish Head founder, Sam Calagione, he is anti-aging. If you buy a Dogfish Head beer, he wants you to drink it right now. Not tomorrow, not 2 weeks from now. As soon as you get home, crack it open. Because each day it sits in that bottle, it's losing its freshness. But he knows that people are big on aging, and that's why they make higher ABV beers. So, Dogfish Head San Paulo, all of their super high stuff that we can't get here. 120 minutes.
I've had that one before.
Which is a kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
The Bourbon Baton Resin series, all of those are brewed at over 11% ABV, and they're meant to be aged and then enjoyed 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line. So if you ever go, yeah,
wow.
If you go to the Dogfish Head Brewery, he has a cellaring room on site where anything that he feels should be aged can be purchased. And for people like myself who can't sit on a beer for more than a month and a half, he's done the hard work for you.
Okay.
But I just thought it was interesting that for some reason right now, everybody decided to come out and say, stop doing this. And I just think it's good information because I got a buddy, he'll age anything. Doesn't matter. Pilsner, Helles Bock, something that you can see through. Oh yeah, been sitting on this one for about a year. And now it tastes like crap. So I just thought that was some very good information from two people who have a decided and respected voice in the craft beer community.
Hey, and that's new for me and something that I hadn't really considered. But as I continue to grow with my craft beer purchasing and whatnot, you know, that'd be some excellent something that I'll probably refer to you in the future. Hey, for the Hoops and Hops, anybody that's listening, any fans of craft beers, I took a moment to set up a email account, man. So if there are anybody that have any questions that or topics that we could talk about in future episodes of Hoops and Hops, why don't you drop me an email, drop me a email at Pay Me No Mind Show. That's Pay Me No Mind Show at gmail.com, and maybe we can get into some Q&A in the future on some different beer topics and expand our conversation a little bit. And again, thank anybody for pressing play. I know G is kind of strange, man, and I was so glad that my guy over at my spot really mentioned it, but I respected the I don't even know the way to put it, but the frankness in his conversation. But me and this guy kind of veered off into an extended conversation about a bunch of different beers and local beers, Cincinnati and some other in Ohio, and he was just frank enough, or there was enough candor to just be like, hey man, you know what, usually the brothers don't mess with this stuff. He said usually the brothers are over here standing in front of the stuff that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, and it's the malt liquors or the Budweiser, Coors, and the
large domestic.
Yeah, the large domestic stuff. Or the furthest they might go is to Heineken.
They know what Sam Adams is, but don't approach it.
Right, but he said, "Hey, man, it's great to see a black guy in here looking in this section." So it really kind of hit to me. It really occurred to me, kind of what we do with tying together basketball and craft beer. These are two very vastly different worlds, man. So
yeah, I don't I don't know if we touched on any of this the first pod. I think in my mind, at least, I knew there were some things I wanted to say. To me, there are reasons for that. I think the exposure level is completely different. None of these beers are marketed to our community, but most specifically, you can't find them at the hood store. Like, right. You can't, like, I'll just speak from personal experience. If I'm on the west side, I can't get craft beer.
Right.
Not really. So with the exception of like going to a Kroger and getting someone who was quote unquote a sellout like a Goose Island, or now locally, you can get some of our locals in Kroger's, Mad Tree, Rivertown, things of that sort. But there's no explanation for somebody in
right.
that area.
Right.
And so, because I'm a beer enthusiast, and I feel like there's beer for everybody, for anybody. And so I think it is just lack of knowledge and education that prevents our people from really delving into this sort of a thing.
Right. Last comment on beer before we move on. Well, two actually, because I did have that pop-up question for you. But I actually was reading something online the other day because I've been trying to get in shape, man. And one of the articles that I came across was like, are you sure that you want to strive for this level of fitness? Because these guys only drink maybe 20 beers per year. And that statement alone kind of made up the decision to me that, bruh, I'm probably just going to have these handles that I have.
Listen.
20 beers in 365 days, man. A 20-something week NFL season. The 82-game basketball season. 20 beers, G.
Man, I knock out 20 beers in a week. Easy.
Hey.
And I guess, like, there's a limit. There's a line, like, and I'm not somebody that drinks every day, but when I drink, I kind of go in. So, right. Like, it's Sunday, it's football. Over the course of the day, I'll probably have 8-9 beers today.
Okay.
And as far as the shape, I'm in a shape.
Yeah.
It may not be the most attractive to the female disposition, but I have a girlfriend. She likes me, and this is why I used to say to ladies all the time. Now, listen, if you're going to drink a beer, what would you prefer? Would you prefer a 6-pack or a mini keg? Right. You want that mini keg, and that's what I got for you.
I see the third man of our crew that you haven't heard from yet, but my man Mike, he actually was abstaining from or refraining from drinking today. So there are some week-to-week decisions that get made based on how hard you go. But like I said, when I saw that, man, 20 beers a year, I was like, that's not the line that I'm getting in.
Look, and they probably are drinking domestics that are half the calories.
Exactly.
So you can probably only have 10 to 12, but it's good stuff.
Exactly. Hey, we're rolling along. This is Pay Me No Mind, the Hoops and Hop series. Really quickly before we totally get off beer and take this first break before we get into our NBA stuff. I see some, as I'm perusing, what I want to try, whether or not I want to take a shot on something new. And lately I've been sticking on a lot of local or Cincinnati beers. But I see some beers that are labeled simply as Pale Ale. Now, this is causing me to spend extra time in the aisle at my spot. Can I be confident that this is an IPA and they just didn't take the time to put Imperial in front of that Pale Ale? Or is Pale Ale and an Imperial Pale Ale, are those totally separate things?
So, the short answer to that is yes. The short answer is that the I literally stands for India or Imperial style Pale Ale. The long answer is no, that they are very different. A Pale Ale is basically a less hoppy version of an IPA. It's a considerably smaller hop concentration, and they focus more on the malt, particularly pale grain malts, hence pale ale. IPAs come in at a